All right, guys. Well, we've been keeping up a little bit on the Rose Malay Bradtaste in music drama. I shouldn't say we. I should say I. I talk about things on stream, and you guys are forced to sit here and listen to me talk. So, I have been following the Rose Malay and Bradtaste in music thing for a minute now because, shocker, I don't really like Rose Malay. I did some coverage. I think it was last week. I think it was when everything blew up. Basically, Rose Malay is a trans woman who makes music style content. Like, that's what she's most popular for. That's where a lot of her views come from. But unfortunately, there was a little bump in the road during COVID. I think it was like 2020-ish. There was a little bump in the road where Rose Malay went on this really weird arc where she was debating whether or not it was ethical to kill your grapist and that grape isn't that bad, and that she would feel very validated as a woman if somebody tried to grape her, and that grape is natural. We also have incredible bangers such as, if people were more racist, trans people would get less hate, therefore we should be more racist. Incredible. And we also have show-stopping tweets such as, it's really disgusting that gay people are allowed to lick each other's assholes, but my dog can't lick my pussy, that's wrong. So, obviously, Rose has been saying this crazy shit for a very long time. A very long time. She has been friends, apparently, with Bradtaste in music, who's a big creator who does, like, music stuff. They kind of are in the same sphere. So, they've been friends behind the scenes for a while. And what ended up happening was Rose Malay made a video about the worst song samples ever. It was like a 3-hour-long video. It did really well, given her size, relatively speaking. Went super viral. Well, super viral for, like, a 2K YouTube channel. Bradtaste in music promoted this video and said, hey, like, you guys should check out Rose. Like, Rose is actually a really good creator, blah, blah, blah. And obviously, because people don't forget, everybody was like, just so you know, Brad, this bitch says crazy shit all the time. Like, really deranged, unhinged shit. Why are you defending her? Bradtaste in music was like, well, she's neurodivergent and a minor, essentially. That wasn't what he said, but that was, you know, she's mentally ill. She's going through some shit. I don't know what mental illness compels you to speak like that in public. Famously, backtrack, just to sidestep a little bit, Rose Malay also faked her own death, where somebody called a wellness check on her, and then she turned her Twitter page into a memorial page. Hashtag rest in peace, Rose Malay. Don't know why the fuck she did that either. Anyway, just generally unhinged during shit. Anyway, progressing onward. Following all this controversy or whatever, Bradtaste in music ended up publicly dropping Rose Malay and saying, you know, actually, fuck Rose Malay. All this shit was crazy. I can't support what she said. Blah, 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 blah. Rose Malay maintains that Brad was still very friendly with her and saying that he supported her in her journey and her living her truth and all this other shit, like behind the scenes, even up to the day before that he publicly disavowed her and what have you. I got into it with Rose because I think that it's a poor mark of integrity to say, like, my friend is out here defending me, saying that I've changed, you know, saying that I'm a bigger, better, stronger person than I was when I was saying all this crazy unhinged shit that I don't believe anymore. But she didn't say anything. She just kind of let Brad get fish filleted alive instead of saying, like, no, guys, I have actually changed. I don't stand by anything that I said. She was just kind of like, I'm going to let him burn. So I thought that Rose Malay was in the wrong in this. Obviously, other people that have done coverage say that Brad was the one that was in the wrong because he was being a snake and being two-faced, because it is true that he was in her DMs up until the day before this happened, essentially saying that he supported her and so on and so forth. But I think that it's a poor demonstration of character on Rose's part to have the opportunity to demonstrate this change, that she doesn't think grape is hot, that she doesn't, you know, think that dogs are hot, that she is, you know, apologetic for faking her own death and what have you, that she did not take this opportunity to essentially own up to all the shit that she did while her friend is being crucified in the town square for defending her. And she doesn't deserve defense, to be honest. So, anyway, Bradtaste in music, who I also sometimes will accidentally say, what have I been saying? Matt. I don't know why. I want to call him Matt. So if I say Matt, that's who I'm talking about. Brad. I don't know why the fuck. I think that I have melted like all of my brain cells with this drama, so I apologize in advance. Anyway, Bradtaste in music talked to Ethan Klein the other day, so let's watch this clip, you guys. Let's watch this clip, shall we? Let's switch on over here. Let's check this out.
Okay, so there's this dude. I don't want to go too hard on this guy, but at the same time,
Brad,
I do want to say that this guy's an idiot.
Brad
does music.
Brad the Bull?
Brad does music.
Oh, different Brad.
So this guy Brad does music. Apparently a lot of you guys know who he is. Bradtaste.
Yeah,
He's a
Brad
music
Tasted
reviewer.
Yeah, I was kind of low-key a fan of his channel. Not like super hardcore, but I've watched a number of his like reviews and stuff. And yeah, I discovered him because he was doing the stream that I thought was brilliant. Maybe he wasn't the one to come up with this, but at the time I thought it was very funny, where he was doing a stream that wouldn't end until he finished the song Thunder by Imagine Dragons, which is one of the most obnoxious fucking songs I've ever heard in my life. And he would
Imagine Dragons slander on the timeline? What? Imagine Dragons is millennials Nickelback. Or I guess you could say Gen Z Nickelback. Like, Imagine Dragons slander on main. Oof. This is going to be rough.
restart it every time he got like $5 in donations or something. So his audience was like torturing him, and I thought that was so funny and also really smart because I'm sure he made a boatload of money off of that stream. So that was how I discovered him, and then I started watching his music reviews and stuff. And so yeah, I don't know. I thought he seemed like a cool guy.
Now I'm not saying you guys have to stop
Maybe
watching him or anything. I just feel like he deserves a little joshing for this. Frankly, he did offend me. I'll be honest. So this guy, I don't know who he is. I didn't know who he is. After the show.
Also, I just take this moment to say, fuck everybody who was in my chat who said that I look like Bradtaste music. That was fucked up. Oh, thanks for the sub on Twitch, Snyderman. I don't know why my little notification is this instead of my normal sound. That's annoying, but nonetheless, we carry on. Imagine Dragons does love autistic people, and I also love autistic people. I would like to take this time to offer my support to the autistic community because I love them greatly. Thank you.
There's like a little gathering area for everybody with VIP tickets who were on our guest list and had backstage access that we could all mingle, say what up to all of our guests, and basically decompress after the show. And he was there. I spent a fair bit of time talking to him. Nice guy. Said he was a big fan and he was super happy to be there and meet me and meet everybody. And I thought, okay, nice. Well, nice meeting you. You know, Hila actually she said she spent the most time talking to him and his girlfriend. I think it was his girlfriend, because he's Israeli, or he has family in Israel, who were killed by Hamas during October 7th. And they were talking about that situation.
I didn't know that. Interesting.
And obviously they have a lot in common because of that. And they were pretty much agreeing about everything they were talking about at the time. And then so he posted a picture. Let's see. He posted a picture of us together on Twitter. So the first picture
First mistake right there.
So this dude, and he seems to be, by all accounts, like...
Oh, yeah, I remember this. Bradtaste music got in a lot of trouble for posting a picture with the Kleins, and he said, this image made a statement that I did not intend to make. I'd like to apologize for people who are hurt and upset by this. And this was actually really cucked by Brad. I won't lie to you at all, because all he did was like hang out with Ethan Klein. That's like all he did was like post a picture. Like the picture literally says great moves and it's him with fucking the Kleins. This was very weird to me. Maybe they'll go into it a little bit more, but I personally did not understand why everybody was like really, really bent about this, because he literally just like hung out with them at a party. I didn't think that was that big of a deal, but
like a regular viewer of the podcast too. So he knows, he understands.
He's a regular super chatter. He would send super chats all the time.
So he understands the culture of the show and who I am and who Hila is and all this stuff. So he posted on Twitter, great moves. It's a nice picture of us all happy, smiling after the show. What could be wrong with that, right? Everything, apparently.
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
In the comments, people were not happy that he took a photograph with a genocide supporting Zionist Nazi, essentially. And he decided to make a statement. He said, this image made a statement that I did not intend to make, and I'd like to apologize for people who were hurt or upset by this. I also apologize for my quick response, as it was dismissive towards people who care about me and others deeply. I appreciate you looking out for me. So I'm like, well, that's fucking lame. Like, we gave you backstage access. We spend like a considerable amount of time like connecting and talking with you, and then you use it to go online and fucking like throw me to the wolves. Like, I was offended. I was like, dude, what the fuck, man? That's so...
That is a little bit fucked up. I feel like just because, like, just hanging out with them, I don't think is that big of a deal. Like, realistically, because I don't understand why he would just like totally flip on that. That is kind of weird. But also, like, I think that Ethan is somebody who does media and has done media for a long time, can understand where that reflexive radioactivity comes from with certain things. But for me, this felt like not a big deal at all. Like, at least in my opinion, if I was Brad, I would have been like, oh yeah, like I actually did hang out with Ethan Klein. I like his content. Like, fuck off. Like, I don't care. Like, if I was Brad, that would have been my response to it. But obviously I'm not the president of everything. So that would be, I mean, people are free to make their own choices, I suppose. But I personally thought that this was like, this didn't even need to be a thing. Like, he could have just been like, I actually don't give a fuck. Like, I went to a party with them and it was fine. And, you know, we didn't like do genocide. Like, we literally just hung out at a party and that's it. But that's just me.
Lame. Like, why did you even come? You know, what a lame fucking... it upset me. It was upsetting. I made a response to it because I was like, dude, this is so lame. Just an Instagram story. I said, this is Brad. Someone on the crew was kind enough to get him VIP tickets, so he was able to come backstage and hang out with us. I had the chance to speak with him for a little bit and thought he was a nice guy. Here he is apologizing for taking a photograph with me. I continued, the reason being because I'm a Zionist. Well, here, let me read what he says. I'm aware that being around Ethan and Hila at the moment is very questionable. I wanted to meet them despite people's valid criticism of them. I am aware this is a bad look, and posting a photo with them upset many people. Not the best decision on my part. Suck my dick, bro. You stay the fuck home. Like, oh my God.
Not the sexual harassment.
Also, like, what's really lame is he's just propping up this absolute psychotic moral panic about me being essentially Israeli. You know, my wife being Israeli. That somehow is, you know, inherently a bad thing. Being born somewhere, I thought racism was the worst thing you could be. But apparently hating someone for being born somewhere is vibes all of a sudden. Regardless, I said, because I'm a Zionist, what does this even mean? To those that use the word as an insult, it simply means anyone that believes Israel has the right to continue to exist. According to recent polling, this would include 90% of the world's Jewish population. That means Brad here would need to apologize for taking a photograph with 9 out of 10 Jews. Which isn't anti-Semitic, by the way.
Am I out of moves already?
Yes. I said, whatever criticism I have voiced for Israel, whatever financial contributions I've made to the people of Gaza, nothing will ever be enough because I, like 90% of all Jews, am a, quote, Zionist. Been on the receiving end of rabid anti-Semitism ever since October 7th, but this one made me especially sad. Here's an example of some of the comments that, I guess, influenced him. Wait, you know they were problematic, and why? And then why you would ever want to meet? Why would you ever want to meet them? If you know Ethan and Hila were Zionists, Hila herself was in the IDF, again, mandatory conscription. Why even risk your reputation for that meeting?
Like, I don't know. This just feels... Somebody in Twitch chat said, I think Brad is just too worried about people's opinion of him. And I think that that's probably true in relation to this. Like, I think that you can have criticisms of somebody's conscription into the military, or you can have, you know, criticisms of somebody's political affiliations, like their stance on Israel and Palestine and what have you, without like totally cucking out to people like shitting on you for hanging out with them. Like, I think it would be pretty easy because Brad, they just started this out by saying that Brad is, his family is Israeli and some of his family died as a result of the conflict in Israel and Palestine right now. So it would make sense to me that like he might have these broad criticisms, like maybe he's one of the people, you know, who does have family in Israel or whatever, that is critical of Israel and Israel's existence of a state. But it's like he went to go and like hang out at their show. It's not like they were doing like, you know, they weren't like doing genocide at this party. Like they were just like hanging out. And it just seems like he did get like a decent amount of criticism and then just like bitched out of it. Because I think that this is like literally fucking nothing. It's like, yeah, I can be critical of like their positions on Israel and Palestine and whatever, but like we were literally just hanging out. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, I don't think that we could reasonably say that like Ethan Klein and Hila are like on the same level as like fucking Hitler. I don't think. You could just say like I disagree with like their politics and I disagree with the fact that like Hila served in the IDF or whatever, and then like move on. It just seems like a little bitch made. You know what I mean? It seems a little bitch made to get a little bit of criticism and then push back. And I will say that it's very interesting that he was able to kind of quickly reposition himself in regards to this, like this really hot, spicy political topic. But it took him a little bit to reposition himself on Rose Malay, who literally said that grape was sexually validating for her. Like, if she was to be graped, she would find that affirming in her identity. And made jokes about sex acts with dogs, which I don't know what the joke was in a lot of I have a lot of questions about that I'll never get answered. But nonetheless, I mean, it does feel like he is just really, really, really very sensitive to people's criticisms of him, which is not necessarily the best trait in the world. I don't think that you should just like bend at the knee every time somebody criticizes you. Obviously, if you think the criticisms are something that are valid or something that you are like, no, actually that makes sense. I think I am going to change my opinion on that. Very cool, very base, you know, growth is always good, what have you. But every time that the wind blows the opposite direction, you're like, fuck, how do I get out of this? That, I don't know if I love that per se, but You know, I just think that this was like a nothing burger from my perspective. It was like he hung out with Ethan Klein. Ethan Klein's wife served in IDF. And that was, you can criticize that and still be like, no, I like their show and I went to like a party. I think that you could do both of those things reasonably, but that's just me. That's just my opinion.
I wanted to meet them because they were famous and I had the opportunity to watch a creator who was a pivotal part of my childhood and early YouTube adventures. I had no care for the moral implications at the time. I just wanted to feel cool. That's so cringe, bro. So, I think there was more, but...
There was a video of him talking about it.
There's, my thing was like, if you don't like 90% of an ethnic group, if you think 90% of an ethnic group are monsters or Nazis or whatever, I think you might just not like that ethnic group. You know what I mean? I don't think that you can... I think that's just racism, frankly, at that point.
I don't want to get into the Israel and Palestine shit. Does he come on here? He does come on, doesn't he? Yeah, he should.
What happened is, so like, I posted a picture with Ethan Klein, and then
I can't believe you guys told me that I look like this guy. Do I really look like this? Do I really fucking look like this? Are you guys serious? You guys told me the other day that I look like this. You guys told me that. Why the fuck would you guys say that to me? Why would you say that to me?
people were like replying with pictures of JPEG Mafia and Kanye West, and I was just like, this.
I don't get that. What does that mean? JPEG Mafia and Kanye West? People were hitting him with memes that fucked him up? What does that mean? Nobody knows?
I don't know.
I don't know. JPEG Mafia is a rapper. He collaborated with Kanye. JPEG Mafia at one point was pretty outwardly spoken about being anti-Nazi and like anti-white supremacist and everything. And then people were like,
So
"What
they're
the fuck,
saying I'm
dude?"
a Nazi.
Basically,
And
yeah.
he's cool being friends with Nazis.
That is
Again,
the implication there, yes.
please understand that when people say stuff like that, they are bigots. I really want people to understand just how fucking gross and bigoted that position is.
Sucks. It was funny, but it sucked. And then there were people like, Bradley, please don't just ignore this. And people in the community, Brad, this is bigger than this. You need to not ignore this. You need to address this. You need to not ignore this. People in my audience, I address it. Spineless, pussy, apologizes for taking pictures with Jews. So it went from like, Brad, you have to address this. You cannot ignore this. This is very important. Fine, I'll say something to, you should have said nothing. Why did you motherfucker? And it was just like, at that point, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, what am I actually doing? Keemstar interview went, dude, Keemstar fucking tweeted something about it, dude. What's wrong with Ethan? Dude, I don't want to talk about this, though.
Go ahead. What's wrong with Ethan, motherfucker? Explain it. You didn't think there was enough wrong with me when you came to my show and like took advantage of our hospitality and came and spent the whole night with us, yucking it up. And the part that people don't know that I thought was especially spineless and lame is that him and Hila were talking shop about, you know, Israel and talking about the war and everything all night. And then he comes home and he's like, oh, they have dangerous opinions. It's like, bro, just believe in something, man. Just like, you know what I mean? Just pick something, bro. Something's got to, what did Alexander Hamilton say? If you don't stand for something, then what do you fall for?
Was that actually Alexander Hamilton? No, it was Alexander Hamilton. My brain is completely fucking rotted from the musical Hamilton, so I was like, that can't be real. That has to be fake. It can't be real. Wow. Flunking out of history. Let's go.
Burr?
Did he say that, or is that a line from Hamilton?
No, that's a line from Hamilton.
Is it like an actual historical quote? Or?
No.
Yeah.
Heavens.
Wait, so it's not a historic... Wait. Alexander Hamilton is credited with saying, quote, if you stand for nothing, Burr, what will you fall for? In Lin-Manuel Miranda's Hamilton. Okay, so it wasn't... Okay, so it is from the musical. But where's the real one from? Okay, well, this is not helpful. Apparently, okay, I don't want to know who said it, because multiple people have said it. I want to know who originated it. Because, let's see, we have Alexander Hamilton, we have Malcolm X, we have Peter Marshall, we have... Who else is in here? Gordon A... something. I'm sure that Jesus is probably in here too. Like, I don't care about like who said it. Who was the first person to say it? Anybody? Oh, look, there's the Jesus one. Fuck, I knew it. Like, I just want to know who said it first. That's what I want to know. I may never know.
Well, clearly not. Clearly not.
It's like, it wasn't supposed to be a big deal. And what I ended up doing is I ended up selling Ethan and Ethan Klein down the river. Just like I wanted to meet them. And it's like I sold them down the river. And then they got upset. And so the entire internet, both sides were upset at me. And then Ethan and Hila were upset at me.
Yeah, no shit.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? What are you saying fuck me for, huh?
What? What do you mean fuck me for? Because you came to my show, took care of my hospitality, and then called me a fucking like a Nazi. Like, what do you mean fuck me for?
Fuck me, right?
I think he clearly. I don't think he's been internet famous for very long. And it can be really severely anxiety-inducing to be getting screamed at by a bunch of people on Twitter or whatever. And I mean, obviously he didn't handle it the best. I mean, this clip that you're showing right now shows a degree of self-awareness.
I think the problem is that he just says whatever he thinks people want to hear, which is a terrible way to conduct yourself, especially
seem that way.
I don't disagree with that on this particularly. Like, it does seem like he is just really concerned about like what other people have to say about him, which is, not that it's good to be aware of how other people perceive you. But it's also good to be aware of what's important to you and like how much you care to like change yourself or change your opinions or your beliefs in order to, change how people see you. Like, I'm trying to think of like an example. Like if everybody thinks that I hate women, okay, because I make jokes about hating women or whatever sometimes. Just kidding. Just for clarity, I love women. I don't hate women. But sometimes I make a joke here or there, about like, oh, women, like just joking. And maybe people genuinely start to get the impression that I don't like women. So maybe I have to sit down and I have to be like, okay, I need to be more mindful about how I'm talking about this because obviously people are getting the wrong impression. How much do I care about the impression that other people are getting? And then if I care enough, how much am I willing to like change or neuter my language to reflect how people are perceiving me? And that's all at the end of the day, a personal choice. Like there are some people that are okay. Like I like making like trans jokes about myself all the time. And I know that some people really don't like that. Some people really don't like that. But that's something that I don't care to change. It's like, I don't care about like making jokes about myself and my identity. I think it's funny. I don't care. Like it doesn't bother me. I'm not going to change my opinion on that. I've already thought about it. I don't care. But if somebody was like, oh, the way that you talk about this, or this, this can give people this impression. And then do I agree with that characterization? And then if I do I care enough to change the way that I talk about it? And obviously that's all going to depend on you and what you prioritize and what you value and how much you value how other people perceive you, blah, blah, blah. There's like a lot that goes into it. But if you're somebody says, hey, you said this, blah, 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 and you're immediately like without hesitation, you're like, fuck, I have to change everything right now. The way that I talk about things, the way that I think about things, because I don't want people to be mad at me. It's like, well, that's not necessarily the point. The point is more so that like you acknowledge that something that you're doing, or something, the way that you talk about something is giving people this implication. Like, do you care enough to change it? Or is it just because people are like bitching at you? You know what I mean? Because people bitch, people be bitching. Okay. People be yapping. And if you are okay with the consequences of like, yes, sometimes I make jokes about this and I know that sometimes people don't like that, but I don't mind because I think it's funny. And so I don't care. I'm okay with making these certain kinds of jokes or whatever. You have to be able to like navigate that for yourself. That's not really like, that's not up to other people to dictate. You kind of have to figure out what you're comfortable with. And it seems like somebody's like, Brad, that was fucked up. And he's like, oh, you're right. Let me change my entire ideology. I think that he just doesn't want people to be mad at him, which who wants people to be mad at them, you guys? Nobody. But it is a little spineless and weaselly to be like, oh, well, this group is mad at me today. I'm going to change my opinion entirely just so they'll stop bitching at me. I don't know. Seems kind of cringe and gay.
It frustrates me a little bit, though, that he doesn't understand why I'm upset.
It
seems to be.
So that's the entire drama in a nutshell. And it's just, if it sounds like a lot of ridiculous bullshit, because it is. It's such bullshit. The whole thing's kind of overblown. It's entirely overblown. Dumb drama, who cares? Exactly.
And it wasn't
I cared. And I'm mad that I cared. If I never cared, none of this shit would have ever happened. But because...
Anyway, whatever. There was more stories, but I can't find them. It all happened during the break. It was like a day. We moved on. But Brad, he got... Dude, Nicholas Diorio, my boy. Yo! Big Nick, my boy.
Oh, boy.
Nick was out there riding for me. He goes... And Brad told Nick, you're setting a really bad example for Ethan. He read your tweets and took them at face value, meaning he trusts you and you're trying to egg on the person who you believe hurt Ethan. I have no idea what he's talking about. I did not read any of Nick's tweets, nor have I ever, frankly, until right this moment. He says, I'm not replying because I like Ethan. I have no affiliation with Ethan Klein. I've never once spoken to Ethan Klein in my life. I'm replying because you're a pussy. Oh, Nickelodeon. Nick Diorias.
You just got slimed, dude.
Okay, so it looks like a lot of this is actually just about this stuff, the Israel-Palestine stuff. I will say, like, regardless of like him being like kind of a pussy in regard to this situation, I would say he's being a little pussy-ish. I still maintain the position that I think that Rose Malay was the one who was fucked up in that situation, because he did go out of his way to sweep for her. And I mean, it is hard to kind of like sever a friendship or whatever for some people, you know, where like if your friend does something stupid and you're like, I know that my friend doesn't really act like this anymore, like they're kind of getting their shit rocked for no good reason, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, it would make sense to me that it would take him a minute to kind of like readjust and recalibrate or whatever. And then if he believes that Rose like really has changed, that's one thing. I don't think she has. But if he believes that, right, like that would have been a really good opportunity for Rose to demonstrate that and then like save his ass. Because instead of like coming out and being like, yeah, you know, Brad is right, I have changed a lot. Here are some examples of how I've changed. Here are some examples of how I'm not like saying crazy, unhinged shit on main like 24/7, 365. She didn't say anything. Because she had the ability to come out, and there's only so much bullshit that people are willing to take. Like, there's only so much sweeping that one person can do before they're like, actually, you know what? I stuck my neck out for you because I do believe that you've changed and I do believe that you've grown as a person. But actually, fuck you, because I went out of my way to try and, you know, defend you and say that you have changed. And then instead of backing me up and being like, yes, I have changed, you let me be emulated on the internet. People, you know, people only have so much tolerance for that kind of shit. So, I don't know. This situation with H3H3, bitch made for sure, I would say. It was kind of like nothing. Like, it was kind of something that didn't really matter at all, but kind of like a bitch made decision. But also, in regard to the Rose Malay situation, it was like, there's only so much bullshit people are willing to endure for you if you're not willing to, you know, at least admit that you don't think, like, the bottom of the barrel, you guys. Like, all she had to do was say, I don't think dogs are hot. That was really it. And she couldn't even do that. She couldn't even come out and say, no, guys, I don't think dogs are hot. So when the bar is that low, if you can't meet the bar, it's like, well, I can see why everybody is kind of fucking sick of your shit. You know what I mean? Fuck. Ugh.